Today we are talking about my favorite reads of 2023. Hopefully this video comes out before January of 2024 is done. We'll see, because I've been off my game. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Emily. We talk about all things books, writing, lifestyle, whatever I want to talk about basically, and it's super fun. So if you want to be a part of this community, subscribe. Today I want to tell you about my favorite books of 2023. I think I have a list of 12 books that I'm going to recommend to you guys. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit quick. I don't want to ramble too long because I don't know if you guys like to hear me ramble. If you do, let me know. I can make it, trust me, I can ramble for a long time, so we can make this long if you want it long. However, I'm trying to keep it under 20 minutes today. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Let's talk about my favorite books of 2023. We're doing this in no particular order. It's just going to be what my heart desires. So the first one we're going to start with is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. If you have been around, you know I am a big fan of anything V.E. Schwab, and this fits that bill. A Darker Shade of Magic is a fantasy story, and it is very much focusing on the aspects of magic and the magical components of the city. It's not a romantasy, however there is some romance in it, but if you're looking for something that's like super fantasy, super focused on how the magic works in the system, on the hierarchy of power, how power is given and taken, this is a great book. This is also a great introduction to that kind of literature because it's simple, it's easy enough to understand, to grasp. The characters are pretty lovable for the most part. Yeah, so I think this is a great starting point for like fantasy rather than romantasy. V.E. Schwab is just an incredible writer, and I'll always devour anything that they write. This follows our main character, Kel, who is basically a messenger who travels between parallel universes, and our setting of this story takes place in London. So in this world there are so the story takes place in London, and there are hypothetically 4 different parallel universes. One of them is no longer in existence, so there are 3 parallel universes. So there are 3 Londons that Kel travels between, and he kind of mediates conversations, trade, information between the rulers of the 3 Londons, and that's in and of itself super interesting. However, he also has this little side gig where he smuggles things between the Londons, and our story kind of picks up when he smuggles something dangerous between 2 different Londons, and everything kind of goes to shit. The only thing that I have to say is the first book was my favorite, and the others kind of bored me a little bit. The second one was extremely interesting and I loved it. However, I am reading the 3rd one right now, and I DNF'd it about halfway through. I'm gonna go back to it eventually. It's just not grabbing my interest right now. But the first one, incredible. If you're looking for something that's heavy on fantasy and politics, this is a good pick. The next one we're talking about is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is actually an incredible book. I can't express that enough to you guys. We follow this woman whose entire village has just been destroyed by the war. She is on the brink of death, and Dracula brings her back to life as a vampire, and we follow their lives living together as a married couple. They travel across centuries and continents and cities and partners, and it is just incredible. So interesting, it's upsetting, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. If you're looking for like a gothic toxic romance, this is the one for you. The next one we have is Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. This is like the ultimate feel-good summer read, in my opinion. A lot of people compare it to Daisy Jones and the Six, and I have to say I do not agree. The only thing that really feels like Daisy Jones and the Six is the fact that there's like a rock star who is struggling with addiction, and that's it. But this follows our main character, Mary Jane, who is a 14-year-old who is nannying for this very rich family. The father of this family is a therapist, and he takes in a rock star and his wife for the summer. While the rock star gets clean, Mary Jane is also living with them while she nannies their young daughter, and it's really just a feel-good story about all of these very different people living under the same roof, and they talk very openly about like love and their sexuality, but it's not in like a gross way. Like, it's a very consensual and like heartwarming open conversation between like adults and a 14-year-old, and it's kind of like a coming of age story. It's just so good. If you're looking for like a contemporary fiction that follows like kind of kooky characters and is heartwarming and feels like a big hug, this is the one for you. The next one we have, to nobody's surprise, is Caraval by Stephanie. Oh my god, I almost just threw up. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. The entire series is a 5-star read for me. I loved the first book. This is like a fairy tale for young adults slash new adults slash anyone, pretty much. It's fantastic. It follows our main characters. What the heck are their names? This follows our main characters, Scarlett and Tella, who are sisters who have been dying to go to Caraval, which is this once-a-year game that you have to be invited to, and it's full of magic and secrets and all this fun stuff. They finally get the chance to go. When they get there, Tella is kidnapped, and Scarlett realizes that the point of this year's games is to find Tella. So she has to go and find her sister, and to everybody else who is invited to this game, it's like carefree fun. They're just in it for the fun. Like, it's a cool experience. For her, she feels like this game is more than a game and she might truly lose her sister. So she teams up with some other players and she's trying to find her sister, and it is just like a whirlwind of fun and romance and magic and fairy tales, and it is just so good. Like, I love this book so much. It is the ultimate setting. Like, it feels like a fairy tale. The games take place on this like private island that gets turned into the games by magic, and it's just so good. If you're looking for like a light-hearted but like very well fleshed out fantasy, this is a great pick. Okay, my camera died, but we are back with a new hairstyle and with a few more books to talk about. The next one I want to tell you about is The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. I loved this book so much. For those of you who are very into the Handmaid's Tale type of dystopian reads, this one is exactly what you should read next. That sentence makes sense. This is a very creepy feminist dystopian type of book. It follows this very patriarchal village that you can't really tell what era this is set in. It could be set in present day, and they are just so completely removed from society that they are living in what feels like Salem witch trials era. Whatever time period it is, it definitely feels like the witch trials era, like 1600s kind of vibes. They are not using any sort of technology, and they are run mainly by the men. Very patriarchal. Women are treated very poorly, and when women in this town turn 16, they are sent off to live in the woods for a full year with each other. Very weird concept. Right before they are sent away for the whole year, they are chosen either to be wed when they come back or to work when they come back. This kind of creates a hierarchy among the women. So we have those who are chosen to be married when they come back. They were chosen by men in the village, and those who are not chosen are going to be workers when they come back. And this kind of separates them and creates this sort of clique and this sort of like mean girl vibe among them. But ultimately they are all sent together to live with each other in the woods in this like abandoned campsite, and it's very creepy and very dystopian, and they are sent there to dispel of any magic that they might have in their bodies. This could be very much compared to like getting your period, and like how in Carrie, like the female menstruation is compared to being like wicked and satanic, and that is very much what this feels like. So they are sent away to dispel of all of this fake magic that they have before they come back and fulfill their purpose of either being worked or wed, which is their only two options. So it's obviously, you can tell I'm very passionate about this book. I loved the premise of it, and I loved the way it was carried out. It follows one main character who is kind of trying to keep some sense of reality and saneness among this group, and it is just so good. If any of that sounded interesting to you, please read this because I loved it and I would love to talk about it with somebody. Okay, Hey, the next few I'm going to talk about are The Hunger Games. I reread the entire Hunger Games series this year, and I also read the prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, in honor of the movie coming out. This entire series is 5 stars. 5 stars across the board. I love this series. I'm not kidding. This is my #1, like easily, and I don't think it will ever change. I am constantly looking for something to make me feel the way The Hunger Games makes me feel. Yeah, they're just all fantastic, and they are some of the only book-to-screen adaptations that I feel were done properly and with like as much passion that you felt in the books. Oh my, I think it's time for a rewatch or a reread, I'm not sure. But when I did reread them this year, I reread them as ebooks. Nope, that's wrong. I reread them as audiobooks. And it was a very fun experience because I never read the audiobooks before. I just read them, and I read them when I was like in middle school. So this was a very cool experience. 10 out of 10 experience. The books are fantastic. I'm not going to explain the Hunger Games to you because I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the Hunger Games is. If you don't, look it up because you're missing out severely. If I start talking about it, I won't stop. So please just go read the Hunger Games. That's all I have to say. Please go read it. Okay, I want to talk about some Taylor Jenkins Reid books that truly have me in a chokehold. The first one is Malibu Rising. Controversial, but that's my favorite of all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. Yeah, I don't know why that sounded weird. That is my all-time favorite, and I know that not a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people feel that that was her worst one. Not me. It's fantastic. It follows this group of siblings living in Malibu, and they're very rich, but they have this very complex and toxic family. Their father is basically the equivalent of Mick Jagger. He is Mick Rivera. He's in all of the other Taylor Jenkins Reid universe books. He's like a music producer, a singer, all this stuff. And he is basically an absent father, and their mother's an alcoholic. And these children just have this like incomparable connection because of the childhood that they had. And the story follows this party that the oldest sister hosts every single year in Malibu, and the party ends with the house going up in flames, and it takes you from that morning to the very next morning figuring out what happened. And it is just so good. Like, the connection between the siblings is unreal. You really feel their love for each other, and I just loved it. If you have not read it yet, please read it and let me know your thoughts, because I feel like I'm the only one who loved it that much, and I really did, so I just need somebody else to feel that way too. Alright, the last one I'm going to talk about today is Belladonna. This is by Adeline Grace. This book is like the epitome of gothic fantasy romance, if that makes sense. This follows 19-year-old Signa, who has basically been living as an orphan her whole life. Her parents died when she's very young. She grew up going from family member to family member, and very mysteriously each one has died. We kind of pick up the story where she's at her, I think, aunt's house. She's living with her aunt, and her aunt dies, and when this happens, she discovers that she has this connection to death. And in the story, death is personified. So he is a person, and she can speak to him, and she sees him, and she discovers that she has the ability to die, but not actually die. So she takes Belladonna in order to see death and speak to him. And it's just like this very cool experience to be able to read it, and like you can really feel the author's like passion for this idea in the writing. It's incredible. So we follow her being sent off to live with her uncle, who lives in this huge mansion, this huge estate. There's a ton of property, and his wife and daughter are both sick. The wife has passed away right as Signa is going to live with them, and the daughter is sick, and both of their illnesses are very mysterious, and nobody knows what is causing them to be sick. And Signa kind of takes it unto herself to figure out what is going on, because she has this connection to death. So she feels that she is in a position that she can figure this out, and it is so good. Don't even want to say too much because I don't want to give it away. Like, I want you to go into it with like kind of minimal information, because it really goes above and beyond like what I thought it would. Just read it. If that sounds interesting to you, please Please just read it. That's it for my favorites of 2023. I read so many good books this year. It was truly one of the best years of reading that I've ever had. I did set a reading goal last year of 70 books and I got to 71, which was incredible, but this year I'm not setting a goal because I feel like the number thing just kind of made it harder for me to enjoy reading. I read fantastic books, but a lot of the time I was just too focused on like hitting that number that it took away the fun. So this year we are just reading for fun. No goals to be hit. We are just reading. So follow along. I feel like this year is going to be a really good year for reading, so I'd love it if you stuck around and we can talk about all the books I read, and I'll do my monthly updates and we can chat and all that fun stuff. So if you guys enjoyed this, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment letting me know which of these that you've read, which ones you're excited to read, and I will see you guys next time.